developing, and we're waiting for it to really develop that robust major hurricane eye wall that we're so accustomed to seeing. You also have to consider that that shape is kind of formed very high up. I mean, what radar height are we looking at here? I assume like still around 30,000?
Yeah, at the front end of the eye wall, we're at about 30,000-ish feet. At the back end of the eye wall, we're at about 37,000-ish feet.
Yeah, that's the thing that you have to realize about with radar. You could shoot it out, and you could keep on shooting it out. But the problem is that the Earth curves away from you because it is indeed a spheroid, and because the Earth's curving away from you, that means that your beam is going up. It's gaining geopotential height. So, uh, yeah, so you're going to be going 35,000
Yep.
feet up when you're several hundred miles away.
I
I
do
got
have some news here. We do have our first hurricane force wind gust of the night in Mississippi Canyon in Louisiana. A wind gust of 65 knots was recorded from the northeast just 1 minute ago.
Yep. And also, I want to note really quick that
Rate not updated.
it seems as though the hurricane force winds have expanded a little bit.
Okay. We do have a drop coming through in the northwestern eye wall. Let me go ahead and take a look at this.
That's a V shape, I think.
Yeah, but it's not in the eye. It's very clearly not in the eye.
Yeah.
It's very clearly not in the eye.
It's
So
in the northwest eye wall.
yep, it's in the northwest eye wall. So what I'm going to do, what I usually do with these is I'll take a look at the drop zone itself, and I'll look at the high density observations, and I will cross check the two. Just take a look and see what the winds were reported from the plane and what the winds were reported from the sonde, and then go from there. It looks like this was, looking at this drop zone, this was heavily influenced by a meso.
And as we continue, it looks like we did pass the hour, it slipped before my eyes, and it looks like we are starting yet another hour of coverage here. Of course, this is going to be indefinite live coverage as we get closer to landfall. I'm here hosting this stream until around 3 a.m. Central Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time, and that is, of course, when Nathan will pick it up from there. But, of course, joining me with this hour, as well as... Oh boy, I accidentally just shut myself off there. But we also have Orlando and Uxinator. But yeah, that is what we're looking at. Looks like we're seeing signs of this definitely going to rapidly intensify now, and recon support of major hurricane status possibly. We will see what the National Hurricane Center says when they update this at the top of the hour.
I'll say I think that it's pretty solidly a major hurricane. I don't think that's a question at this point.
I would say so as well. I'm taking a look at this drop zone right now from the northwest, and I've just cross-checked it with the high-density observations from the plane. And this is kind of suspicious. So the drop zone was dropped at 439.42. So the closest high-density observation I have for that is 439.30. And that was 92 knots flight level, 85 knots SFMR. If you don't like that one, you take for the 30 seconds after, it's 81 knots, 85 knots still on the SFMR. We go ahead and take a look at the drop zone. One, the wind, the drop zone wind from 700 millibars was 80 knots. That's cool and all. The drop zone wind from 850 millibars is also 80 knots, which is odd. You would definitely like to see a healthy gain from 700 to 850 millibars. And then at 900 millibars, still pretty much right around 80 knots, and then 940 millibars, a huge jump up to 100 knots, and then it backs off, and it
All right.
backs off way below SFMR readings, which backs up way down below the 85. So I would disregard this drop zone entirely, completely contaminated by MSO.
The northwest eye wall or the eye drop zone? Because the eye drop zone just came in.
Obviously, well, I don't have the I'm not looking at the eye drop zone. The eye drop zone now. Oh, here's the eye drop zone.
Oh,
955 millibars. 3 knots. It's 955. That is a very strong Y pattern.
Wowie.
That is a very strong Y pattern.
And just to think that the last advisory that we had was 964 millibars.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That wasn't even dead center of the eye. That was in the southwestern side of the eye.
Oh no! It got pretty much dead center of it. 955. They nailed it. They nailed it.
If we, so that means that this is dropping 9 millibars every 3 hours, 3 millibars an hour right now.
Don't make me think, Schwent.
Is that?
Don't make me think.
I am at this point just trying to figure out how deep this is going to end up being.
27. So we've got 27 point. I'm going to take this drops onto face value. 88.4. So we know that's going to be 955. I'll release this update for 0530, I think it'll be. So yeah. I will update I will get a recon update out regarding Ida once we figure out what this wind speed is in the southeast eye wall. I'm gonna go with that because I'm actually pretty confident because of that mesocyclone that that's probably gonna be the strongest. Those are probably gonna be the strongest winds we're gonna see, or close to them anyways.
Yeah. All right, so since Ida is definitely a major hurricane at this point, I think it's safe to say that we can expect, at this point, if you're in Louisiana, I think we can say confidently that a Category 4 landfall is pretty much what's going to take place here.
Yep. I don't see it being less than a Category 4. It could be more, but that would require some very bad luck. Hopefully we have good luck. I really don't think that a Category 5 landfall's off the cards yet. It's got plenty of time. It's intensifying plenty fast enough.
It is fast enough right now. It would get sub 930 in about 6-7 hours at this rate.
And how much time are we talking until landfall? About
Got about
13
12
hours?
hours.
12
Got
hours?
about 12 hours. 12, 13 hours, yep.
So
it's got time.
If it's 9:55 now and it's going 3 millibars.
3 millibars an hour.
An hour. That's about. We're getting into the 920s.
Yep.
Easily.
Actually, no.
We're talking.
We can get down to 916.
910s. We're talking
You can get down to
910s.
916.
Yeah.
We're talking 910s.
9:55 minus 36. That's 9:19.
Yep.
We're talking 910s. And 910s for a storm of this size is solidly in Cat 5 range. So
Yep.
people saying that Cat 5's off the cards, I kept on telling people all day, you really can't discount that because this storm's very small, and small storms like this are subject to rapid fluctuations of intensity. And, yeah. Rapid fluctuations of intensity. We are receiving 3 millibars an hour. I mean, that is an insane pace to maintain. And considering that I believe it is directly over the rocket fuel OHC now,
It is.
I don't think that intensification is going to get less than 3 millibars per hour. If anything, it might go up. Please don't go up.
I second that. And
So
I'm also going to say, I agree with you 100%, Devin. I'm not ruling out a Cat 5 landfall
can't.
either. I was
You
not doing that at all. People were ruling out Michael being a Cat 5. And guess what? It rapidly
Michael is-
intensified right up to landfall, and it was a Cat 5 at landfall. So
even then,
yeah, even then though, Michael didn't have this ocean heat content. This can
It could have been
easily
stronger.
It
Yeah,
could have been
Michael-
stronger.
Michael, honestly, you say that it rapidly intensified, which it did meet the marks for rapid intensification, but honestly, for a storm of that size, that was actually a pretty modest intensification rate. So, I know that you look at Michael and say, oh, well, Michael rapidly intensified. Well, it's like, yeah, it did, but considering what other storms its size did, like, Camille going up a category every 6 hours, which Michael definitely did not do,
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty modest rapid intensification rate compared. And this storm also seems to have done a pretty modest rapid intensification rate. Luckily, we're not getting the extreme 5 to 6 millibar per hour deepening rates that you would expect in a storm with a wind radius of a maximum tropical storm wind radius of less than 150 nautical miles.
The storm
yeah.
hasn't moved the shore yet, Devin. I wouldn't push your luck.
It hasn't done it yet. It could do it. It's not going to. I don't think it'll get significantly above 5. If it touches 5, it'll probably touch 5 for an hour. It's getting absolutely nowhere near record intensification rates, which would be pushing about 10, which is similar to what we saw in Wilma or Patricia. We're not going anywhere near that, and I'm happy to say we're not going anywhere near that. I'm hoping we don't go anywhere near 5. 2 to 3 is fine. Well, it's not fine. It's going to be a very strong category 4 at landfall if it maintains that, but compared to the alternative, which is 5 millibars per hour, I would say 2 to 3 is fine.
Oh yeah. This is where I'm gonna ask. And I saw Xavier was drawing there to see distances. And I was just doing some math. If it keeps moving at 16 miles an hour, and let's say it moved directly in that direction, we're talking less than 10 and a half hours from landfall. So we would be even under 12 hours from landfall. Is that what we're thinking for landfall, or are we still like 12, 13 hours away?
We're still thinking 12, 13 hours, especially considering it's jogging west right now.
Well,
It's like we're going to see some
I
kind of
really hate
slowdown.
to break- I really hate to break this stuff in, but well, flight level
What?
winds are still extremely high, pretty far from the center.
Okay.
Like- Yeah.
I'm pushing the recon update as 100 knots because yeah, that's what it is. It's a Cat 3.
If we're getting Cat 2 barbs well away from the eye wall, this is easily a 3.
We're getting
It's
Cat.
strange. Yeah, there was some Cat 2 flight level at surface. Its SFMRs were going down pretty linearly. I don't know
I
what
see that.
was
Okay.
I see
happening.
that the flight level winds are not backing down that much. The SFMRs have gone down decently, and they're below tropical storm force strength at that distance.
Okay.
the ones that you're seeing above 50 knots there that aren't technically flagged by the flagger, those are heavily inflated by rain rate. Just cancel those all out. You're at yeah. You're sorry. Very sorry. You're on the edge of tropical storm force winds there, even though the flight level winds are much higher.
Yeah.
Okay, I accidentally muted myself there and didn't say that. But if you're wondering what's going on, we just upgraded Ida to be the second major Atlantic hurricane of the hurricane season. And now with winds of 115 miles an hour and a pressure of 955 millibars. So unfortunately, the season continues to take a more dramatic turn, especially considering the fact it's only been a week since we saw the last major hurricane landfall there, of course, with Grace. And needless to say, we're getting into peak season, so of course this was to be expected that we'd be starting to see more of those majors pop up, but unfortunately we're looking at a very serious situation here, especially for eastern Louisiana, where a landfall is expected to take place later today.
And it should be known we have Tropical Depression 10. We have Tropical Depression 11. We've got another wave coming off of Africa here that's got a very strong signal to it. We might need to tag another AOI in the Caribbean coming up, because I know that there's been a pretty strong signal in regards to that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some yellow crayon come up there again. I hope models have backed off of that. I haven't looked in a couple of days.
They have
but
not.
They have not, yeah. So you expect to see some yellow crayon in the Caribbean, pretty much the same exact track as Ida, unfortunately, at least on long-range models, which you really can't take at face value, because Ida's original track on long-range models was to be a copy of Grace. And you can see just how large of an error that is. So definitely don't take those at face value. The storm AOI hasn't even formed yet. It's not even designated by NHC, but expect to see another thing form. We were expecting a very active season this year. It's not disappointing.
No. I do have some good news, which I know is something we haven't heard in a little bit. The eye looks far less symmetrical than it has in the past. It almost looks like a heart right now. It's got a little divot there, in particular, on the northeastern side. I think that's good news. It might be a mesovortice really creeping its way into the eye. I'm not 100% sure. But at this point, the eye's appearance looks worse than it has, and I think that's good news.
Northeast sector.
Northeastern side. I have it up on screen share if that's helpful to you.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the Raycom punch to the northeastern side, because I think that's probably what's going to get us. That's probably what's going to get us the absolute maximum intensity. I think that's probably going to get around 100 knots as well. Who knows? We might go through the northeastern side and the winds have actually caught up to the pressure and it gets 110 knots. Hopefully not, but it could.
Also curious to see how much the pressure is going to end up dropping if that rate continues. So we'll see if winds are catching up. And if that pressure continues to drop, continue to ramp at the same rate as well. So we'll see. This next pass is going to be very telling.
Oh, good lord. 11L is a joke.
You're not wrong.
I just inadvertently clicked over onto Twitter and I saw the post about Tropical Depression 11L, and Tropical Depression is the nicest thing that you can say about
And they
that
expect
storm.
it to become a short-lived tropical storm too before becoming extra tropical.
Well, that's just because the trash train stops for nobody.
Yep, that's true. That's true. We did expect an active trash train, and we're getting an active trash train.
All right, so Recon has turned up to the north, and we're expecting a northeast to southwest pass. That's fair enough.
Yep.
Indeed, we do.
Question
Now
is,
we have-
what are we gonna find?
All right, so do we have any fewer questions coming in? Anything new?
Actually, we have something new. We have the next recon data.
We
showing
just
Okay.
went over it
quadrant, a swath of 70 to 75 knot flight level winds, which are certainly not a good sign.
with garbage SFMRs.
Yeah, of course.
So
Um,
again, not go on.
Yeah. So, anyways, what I would suggest at this point, I think we're probably going to get a drop zone in that corner to really see if there's actually 50 knot winds down there. That is really concerning. That is a big increase in wind field if that's actually 50 knots down there. I really hope it isn't. Wow. But yeah, there's that. I really want to answer viewer questions if there are any, because we really haven't gone over that.
There haven't been really recently, and the ones that did pop up really came up to the fact that we had kind of answered them almost after by default. But of course, with there being over 500 people watching us right now, I'm sure at least one of you guys have questions. So if you have any questions, please submit them. We will be able to answer them, and of course, we'll get the bottom bar updated in a little bit with the latest information. So, until then, just show us what you got.
All right, fair enough. So I just want to go ahead. We haven't discussed the key messages recently for Hurricane Ida, so I'll go ahead and go over them really quickly as posted by the National Hurricane Center as of 10 p.m. Central. There's a danger of life-threatening storm surge inundation. We're talking 10 to 15 feet, a wall of water that's going to be higher than a one-story building along the coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama within the storm surge warning area. Check your local weather office for that. Extremely life-threatening inundation of 9 feet or greater above ground level is possible somewhere between the area of Morgan City, Louisiana, to the coast of Mississippi. The coast of Mississippi can also receive some significant storm surge. If you take a look to Hurricanes Camille and Katrina, the peak surge actually ended up happening in Mississippi. The good news is that this storm is quite small, and the much further west landfall location should limit that impact, at least in Mississippi. Overtopping of local levees outside of the hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system is possible, where local inundation values may be higher. Interest throughout the warning area should follow any advice given by local officials. Ida is expected to be an extremely dangerous major hurricane when it reaches the coast of Louisiana. It is a major hurricane now, confirmed by Recon. Hurricane force winds are expected Sunday in portions of the hurricane warning area along the Louisiana coast, including in metropolitan New Orleans, with potentially catastrophic wind damage occurring wherever the radius of maximum winds are. Actions to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. They should have been completed by this point. Tropical storm force winds are encroaching upon Louisiana. In fact, we have hurricane force gusts encroaching upon Louisiana. Any preparation should have been completed by now. You should already be in your sturdy shelters by this point. Damaging winds, especially in gusts, will spread inland near the track of the center of Ida across portions of southeastern Louisiana and southwestern Mississippi Sunday night and early Monday. These winds will likely lead to widespread tree damage and power outages. To elaborate on this, we could be seeing power outages that could easily last more than a couple days, might even last a week or two. So I hope that you have proper food and water available if you are sticking out and riding in this system. Emergency management will be completely overloaded due to this storm. Emergency management, at least in the Louisiana area, have already come out and said that you will be on your own after this storm, because it's quite possible that trees are going to be down, roads are going to be completely impassable or flooded, or both, and there might be no way to even get to you. There just won't be any way of saving you if you're stuck in this storm. Just emergency management is going to be completely overloaded. So if you are sticking this out, you're going to be out of luck if you're looking for help for quite a while, I would assume. Ida is likely to produce heavy rainfall over 20 inches. Up to 20 inches, rather, expected. 10 to 15 inches likely, up to 20 inches possible. Sunday into Monday across the central Gulf Coast from southeastern Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, and far southwestern Alabama, resulting in considerable life-threatening flash flooding and significant river flooding impacts are expected. You got to consider that it's been very, very wet up in the northeast, over in the Ohio rivershed that drains down into the Mississippi. I imagine that the area is probably pretty saturated. It's running pretty high. I wouldn't doubt that flash flooding will be an extreme concern. As Ida moves inland, significant flooding impacts are possible through lower Mississippi, Tennessee, and Ohio River valleys through Wednesday. So even if you're not directly on the coast of this, even if you're not directly in a tropical storm or hurricane wind warning, you will be receiving the impacts of this storm if you're in and around the cone of it. The impacts will include very heavy rainfall that could produce life-threatening flash flooding, especially in the Tennessee River Valley that just received, I think a week ago, record amounts of rainfall. So all interests that are within the cone of the storm as designated by the National Hurricane Center, in and around the cone as designated by the National Hurricane Center, and by the way, that would include me, should pay very close attention to this storm, because rainfall effects will occur a significant way inland at this point. That's the end of my spiel.
Yep, and just to go over some of the rainfall amounts we could be seeing.
The audio got muted.
Oh, so that sucked. Apparently I pressed the wrong button in.
Thomas, what I could tell you from this satellite imagery that I'm looking at right now, you said that on radar you're seeing less symmetry. I'm telling you on infrared, I'm seeing more symmetry now.
I have that's actually changed on radar a bit. Those four mesovortices seem to have recovered and are again in a perfect diamond shape, and they're stretching around this eye wall. It's been morphing through a variety of different shapes over the past little while, but it is more symmetrical again overall, although it is not a circle. I'm not sure what you're seeing on infrared. I'd assume it's looking more like a circle on that, but still.
It is looking more like a circle. Basically, we're kind of getting a circle shape where an eye should be, but only half of it is actually clear.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah, going back to what I was trying to say earlier, this is basically the rainfall for the continental U.S. the next 5 days, and you can definitely see Ida's influence. Of course, those brown colors are pretty much showing the severe extent as to the rainfall. We could be seeing over a foot of rain in a good location amount of areas, and then everything in yellow that you see there, over 4 inches of rain. So that all the way goes up into Tennessee, Kentucky, even parts of southeastern Indiana, Ohio, parts of southern Pennsylvania, and the Appalachian Mountains. And then, of course, in those burgundy to pink colors, that's where you could be seeing 2 to 3 inches of rain. And that goes all the way across portions of even Illinois, going all the way across the Mid-Atlantic between Maryland, Delaware, much of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even into portions of New England. So definitely it's something that we got to be watching here, and you can easily see that even half an inch of rain goes all the way up into Missouri, and then all the way up into portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, and even extreme southern Maine. So this is going to have a very wide influence, even though this is going to become post-tropical and likely get absorbed into a frontal system. But yeah, this is going to be something that those that are in the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and of course even the Mid-Atlantic and parts of the Northeast need to be watching too, especially considering the fact that many of these areas have already seen quite a bit of rain lately.
Yep.
I just want to go ahead and jump in front of both of you guys here. Son 5 has come in the far southeastern quadrant of the storm, and I can confirm that that is the very tail end of where the tropical storm force wind field is. The splash wind is 35 knots. So, and commonly, these drop sun readings are considered to be taken as gusts. So, 35 knots might be generous.
Also, this is actually important because this relates to Ida. We have a new SBC Day 1 outlook. If you guys know what an SBC Day 1 outlook is, basically,
Okay.
they put Louisiana in a slight risk.
Well, they should be, at least theoretically, at least what I'm thinking. Because this storm's going to produce, what, 100... We're talking 115 mile per hour winds. Sustained. Now, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but an PDS severe thunderstorm warning requires 90 mile an hour winds?
80 mile an hour winds.
80 mile an hour winds.
Yes.
Louisiana should be in a moderate minimum, possibly even a high, considering just the wind threat. Just the wind threat. That should put it into a high. I
The
don't
SPC
understand.
has never done
I know
that.
they don't. I know they don't, and I know they only assign the risk based off the tornado threat. And that's why they say slight. But when you see a slight risk from the Storm Prediction Center, that explicitly is only for the tornado threat. That does not include the rain threat. That does not include the sustained wind threat. That does not include the surge threat. So even though it says slight risk, this is a particularly dangerous situation in the landfall area. That does not mean to take this storm lightly.
I would like to just say real quick, Devin, I'm not sure what you're seeing on satellite. I am now seeing a huge burst in symmetry. This looks almost like a perfect circle on radar now, with a little bit of scud on the inside. In particular, I'm seeing a bit of scud on the eastern side. Is that the side that's not clearing, the eastern side of the
Yeah,
eye?
the eastern side is the one that's having some problems getting cleared.
Yep.
Okay.
I can also say it does look like that hot towers are forming on the eastern side of the eye wall as well.
Yeah, I actually can see that on radar, and I'm pretty sure you're going to see that morph into a big convective burst that starts
boy.
wrapping, kind of like the other one that you see on the southern side right now, that's wrapping around.
No, I don't see it. It's just popping up right now.
Yeah, I'm saying that it looks like if radar is anything to go by, it's going to evolve to a point that you're going to see a very similar kind of wrapping thing, just with the next contour up of cloud tops or whatever.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but regardless, this thing's an insane ocean heat content right now, and you can tell.
Unbelievably insane ocean heat content. This is the kind of storm that you just cannot mess around with at all in regards to this, because the storm is blowing up at least 2.5 millibars per hour, and has been doing so for the past 6-8 hours or so, probably longer than that at this point. It's been sustaining this and remember, rapid intensification is considered to be 1 millibar per hour. Explosive intensification usually kicks in around 2 to 3 millibars per hour. That's much less defined. That's not as well defined of a term. But rapid intensification, that's pretty clear. 25 knots in 24 hours, or 24 millibars 24 hours. We're beating that. We're looking at about 50 millibars 24 hours, maybe even better than that. So we are easily beating the requirements for rapid intensification right now. There's no question that this storm is rapidly consolidating into something larger, and it's using basically a as close to unlimited heat sink that you can possibly think of. Like it's a complete energy pool that it could just keep on pulling from and keep on pulling from and keep on pulling from. And I mean, with an ocean heat content of 225, and I think the 30-degree isotherm going somewhere down between 40 and 50 meters. I mean, that's almost 175 feet.
I would like to say some good news is that this is getting to the back end of that 200 to 225 swath of OHC. It is on the back end of that now.
Not soon enough. The thing is that the OHC goes down, but then the sea surface temperatures themselves are going up. The only reason why the OHC is going down is because the water's getting shallow.
Yep, but that's not going to affect the storm much.
That's not gonna affect it because the storm isn't moving slow enough for upwelling to affect it.
So it's virtually.
It's only gonna care about those sea surface temperatures. Pretty sure.
So it's virtually got that kind of energy all the way to landfall.
It probably will. I hope that it levels off. Climatology suggests it will. Sea surface temperatures and ocean heat content say otherwise, and models also say otherwise. So, I guess I'm wrong.
Well, apparently, Mississippi Canyon has just now reported a gust of 69 knots or 79.4 miles per hour from east northeast.
Oh boy. So, while we're waiting on intermediate advisory to come in on Ida, the intermediate advisory came in on Nora. Pressure and winds are the same. It's just a location update.
And we should be seeing the NHC issuing their next thing. Probably because I think they're gonna do a major an update to a major hurricane because of recon data. I think it's gonna be probably within the next 10
Well,
minutes.
it's still going to be an intermediate advisory. It's just they're going to up it to a major. We know that.
Yeah.
They're gonna up it to 115. They're not gonna go any higher than that.
Yep.
We're not gonna get the proper pass.
No,
so
there's no
they're gonna go
reason.
115,
There's
955.
yeah. There's no. I see no reason to. I mean, they might even go 110, 955, honestly, because of the SFMRs. But maybe they might not. I don't know.
I think when the pressure drops that drastically, you're
Yeah.
kind of forced into major, especially because because the NHC is justified when recon hasn't even shown quite as strong. Like they did this with Ada last year. We got 150-mile-an-hour winds on a pass, and they said since
Yeah.
the strongest side wasn't sampled, they went 155. Operationally. So it's if anything, I think that I don't see them going 110 here, especially with the justifications they've used in the past for intensity upgrades that Recon hasn't firmly supported. We'll see, though.
The eye is clearing again.
Yeah,
Well,
no
that's-
kidding. That goes without saying. I know
Yeah.
you're paying close attention to satellite estimates, but eye clearing is kind of just a formality at this point.
Yeah, this is gonna be the final push, and there's really no more of it going away at this
Now-
point. It's the final run at this point.
Now, yeah, and now another thing that we have to consider with satellite estimates is that I think we're going to reach a point here where where satellite estimates are going to just completely level off, and Recon's going to have to carry us the rest of the way there because the tropopause above this storm is too low to really get the cold medium grays and cold dark grays up onto the board. So I don't think we're really going to see any taller convection in this storm because it's capped.
Yep.
So, yikes. That's makes me really thankful that Recon is here to save us.
Me too. Me too. Recon has been extremely helpful in determining the strength of this storm.
Oh, absolutely. Because without recon, we would have had to been going probably off of ADT until the next recon got out there.
We
I'm
wouldn't
sure
be
we
using
would've.
ADT.
There are a variety of other things.
Well, yeah, we have so many other tools at our disposal that aren't ADT. Like I already said, the advanced Dvorak technique is literally a Hail Mary. That's literally last ditch attempt. There's no other intensity estimates that we deem reliable. And that's like the last ditch attempt to have any sort of opinion. Like you have to have no recon, every single microwave pass miss, a reason to consider satellite estimates to be suspect, a reason to consider the subjective Dvorak estimates to be suspect as well. Like you have to figure out reasons for all of those, and then you can take a look at ADT. But that is such an extreme scenario. Like the only times I can really think that would end up happening is like if the storm is in the middle of nowhere, Central or West Pacific. Like,
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, I know that. ASCAT and Microwave has a really hard time hitting storms between 160 East and 160 West. It also seems to be a really hard time storms getting hit by microwave between 20 East and 20 West, but luckily there's usually a continent there, so we don't need microwave that far east. Sometimes we do, like Fred, for instance, or if there's like a really intense tropical cyclone heading towards like Majrera or something. But usually, if they're further north, you're able to get them to hit. But the advanced Dvorak technique is literally the Hail Mary. Like everything needs to be suspect before you look at that.
Yep.
If honestly, if it wasn't for recon, we'd probably be calling Cat 4 on this.
Yeah. Um.
And I don't really think that that's an overestimation here. I think that's pretty fair given the satellite presentation of the storm, given the microwave presentation of the storm. Maybe chip it down 5 miles an hour down to Cat 3. But other than that, yeah, I don't see any reason why we would other than that, I don't see any reason why we would go with anything other than Cat 4. Like if this was a really tiny storm heading towards the Philippines, I think that we would call it a Cat 4. It's got that type of satellite appearance to it, and we know that the winds are kind of just trying to catch up here, so we'll see.
That we will.
Okay, so we have a new advisory out from the National Hurricane Center. I have been told this may or may not be true.
It is, and it is official. Air Force Hurricane Hunter aircraft finds Ida has strengthened into a major hurricane. 115-955. It is official from the NHC.
So right in
Yeah.
line with us.
Yeah, literally what we posted. That is not surprising whatsoever.
There's no other option in this case. It's a pretty clear cut
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
don't think there's.
So yep, of course, looking at the intermediate advisory that has just come out from the National Hurricane Center, it is now considered official that this is now a Category 3 hurricane. No ifs, ands, or buts about this. This is now the second major hurricane of this Atlantic season. And of course, the strengthening is not ending here. There is still quite a bit of ways to go. And we're definitely, and I mean definitely, looking at a Category 4 landfall. There is no scenario really where this makes landfall as a Category 3 at this point.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else to say. It's up to a Category 3 hurricane as confirmed by Recon. Air pressure as recorded by Recon is 955. That is very, very strong. Surge threats. I'm just skimming this to see if anything significant has changed.
Nope, still the same.
Morgan City, Louisiana to the mouth of Mississippi River, 10 to 15 feet. Hurricane conditions are expected in the hurricane warning area across the Louisiana coast beginning late morning, with tropical storm force conditions to begin by early this morning. These conditions will spread inland over portions of Louisiana and Mississippi tonight and Monday. Rainfall, 8 to 16 inches in most areas with isolated maximum amounts of 20. This is likely to result in life-threatening flash flooding and urban flooding and significant river flooding. Tornadoes will be possible. Surf.
Oh, this is big.
I don't even know why they put this in here. Surf. Swells are beginning to reach the northern Gulf Coast and will continue to affect that area through Monday. If you're anywhere along the Gulf Coast, I don't care if you're in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, or Texas, please do not go into the Gulf of Mexico. Rip currents are going to be literally everywhere. Don't do that. I think we've had 2 people killed in Florida from rip currents already. Just
yeah,
don't do it.
I agree.
Just don't even tempt it. Rip currents are too strong because of this hurricane. The entire Gulf Coast, absolutely not.
This is big. The next complete advisory is 4 a.m. However, we're in hourly, boys. Hourly tropical cyclone updates will begin at 2 a.m. Central Daylight Time. These can be found under WMO header, whatever, and other headers. But yep, we're in hourly.
Oh boy.
Righty, and okay.
There we go. Okay, so I'm beginning to see on radar, the eye is starting to clear out a fair bit. That scud is going away. Are you seeing that on infrared, Devin?
The reloaded up here. Got the mesoscale. I really am grateful for this Ghost 16. No, it just got much more elliptical.
Really? Because the eye is looking much more circular on radar now.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
it just went from looking pretty circular looking to looking pretty elliptical looking.
So there's a new AOI in the Atlantic.
Yeah, is it in the Caribbean?
No. This is where it is. A weak trough of low pressure associated with a decaying frontal boundary is currently centered just off the mid-Atlantic United States coastline. This system is producing a few disorganized showers
Oh,
and
you gotta be
thunderstorms
kidding me.
over the warm Gulf Stream waters. Environmental conditions appear favorable for some slow development over the next few days as this system drifts southeastward, remaining offshore of the eastern United States coastline. Formation through 48 hours, 10%. Formation through 5 days, 20%.
It's literally a cloud. It's literally a cloud.
I literally did see that. I'm gonna say I did see that earlier when I was making the US 2, and I'm like, are they gonna designate that as an AOI just for no reason? And sure enough, they did.
All I'm going to say is no. I understand where you're coming from, and I really, really, I get it. Okay, I get it.
But no.
I really get it. But listen to me, NHC. I just want to say, just listen to me. The new AOI is not IDA. The new AOI is not IDA. This is something completely different. This is something that's supposed to form in like 48 hours. So it is not IDA. But I just want to say something. Just look at me directly in the eye, National Hurricane Center. No.
Yeah, I've pulled up the National Hurricane Center outlook on here so that way you guys can see here, and you can see that, of course, as Devin has mentioned, of course this is an IDA, and you can see it's pretty much off the coast of the Delmarva at the moment. That is where this is at the moment, and then of course you also have the X4, our newest, or our high chance AOI that we have from the National Hurricane Center. And then of course you can see tropical depressions 10 and 11 there. So basically we now have 5 things to monitor in the Atlantic at once. 5.
6. Because the Caribbean AOI that's behind IDA.
Yeah, so yeah, basically that gets marked, it'll be 6. Of course, I'm pretty sure if we do a Cat 2 tomorrow night, that will probably be marked, and if we have that and everything there, we will have 6 things to monitor.
Yeah. I don't know if I will be putting that in. That is...
Honestly, I think it's just gonna die.
That's what I would call an imposter. I don't like that. That makes me 6 shades of unhappy. Let me see here. How is this storm doing over here by the Azores? Is it looking any better? No.
No.
Okay.
It's
No.
not.
I could have told you that.
It's not even off of Africa, according to the NHC.
What are you talking about? I'm not talking about that storm.
Oh, the
Devin,
Azores.
I
You're talking
didn't
about
even
11.
look at it, and I could tell.
You're talking about 11.
No, I'm not talking about 11 either. I'm talking about a completely different storm between the Azores and Spain.
Yeah, man.
That's not going to fire convection, so
What?
I'm
No.
killing that. I'm killing that.
Oh,
No.
I think I see that
fine.
swirl. It's the northeast of the Azores. Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's not gonna fire convection. There was the GFS and CMC were both clinging on to the idea that it would have fired convection at this stage, which if it did, it would be highly suspect for subtropical development, but it's not going to do it, not at that stage. Not looking like that anyways. So
Hey,
I couldn't
Devin,
care less if there's frontal boundaries connected to it or not. No convection, no tropical cyclone.
it appears that despite the tropopause that we have here, Ida is managing to crack some minus 80s.
Oh no.
How about I crack Ida with some minus 80s? Because that sounds like I don't like, I just don't. How about that? I just don't.
Recon's about to make a pass through the quadrant where those minus 80s fired.
Oh boy.
So we're gonna find
Going
out
to run
real
into-
quick.
They are gonna run into a hell of a meso. I hope they're hanging on tight, because that's gonna be a bumpy ride going through the center of that storm. Do we have any
Yeah.
viewer questions?
As of right now, the most recent questions, well, at least the most recent tag with us was, thank you for the coverage. Of course, we appreciate the thanks. We are hoping that, but yeah, there's a lot of thanks to the chat for us providing this information. Of course, we definitely are honored to cover this information. Of course, we all know that it's late for all of us. I did see a funny comment earlier telling us to make sure that we all get our sleep, but unfortunately it's going to be a long night for us, especially myself, as I will be up here covering this for another 2 more hours. So
Let me tell you, man. If I was trying to sleep right now, I wouldn't be able to get to sleep. So, would rather be productive.
and we had a real question that we did have was how many hours until landfall. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up gonna figure out how much far away this is from land down, and then I'll get you an answer on that one.
So I see it's 1070 now, so they actually have brought in on the one that's still on Africa right now. So they actually did put in 48-hour chances for the first time in this AOI's life.
I want to report in something as well. It looks as though the southeast quadrant, there's convection burst at the southeast quadrant.
Ida's slowed down to 15 miles an hour in the latest advisory. They say it's 105 miles south-southeast of the mouth of the Mississippi and 185 miles southeast of Huma. If it moved directly northwest at 15 miles an hour until it reached Huma, which I don't even think that's going to do that because there's always deviations and wobbling, it would be about 12 hours.
Yeah, needless to say, I just did some calculations based on its current trajectory. Of course, we are looking at a landfall, at least from the last National Hurricane Center on Golden Meadow there, and that's 165 miles away. So if that were to be the case, we're looking at another 10 to 12 hours until it makes landfall, which is pretty much in line with what the National Hurricane Center has been saying. If it continues to track eastwards, then yeah, then we're looking at Port Sulphur there. So we've still got quite a bit of time. I know there's still been a few questions that we did get out over the last few minutes here. The most recent one, or a few questions that we got. What if the area of interest off the Mid-Atlantic actually develops like Henri? Well, Henri was actually completely different, considering the fact that it was something that wasn't...
It was an upper level low.
Yeah. This isn't.
Yeah.
So it's not a situation like Henri.
This would be similar to Claudette. Sorry.
Yeah.
What? Did I get that name right? I definitely did not get that name right.
It was Claudette.
Whatever that horrible trash was that formed off the East Coast and then
Oh,
died.
that was Danny.
Danny.
No, it was not Danny.
Are you
It
talking about
wasn't-
Anna or
it
Bill?
wasn't- It wasn't Anna, Bill. No, it was no.
Sure it was this year
was-
then?
No, it definitely wasn't this year. What am I thinking of? Oh, I'm thinking of Dolly.
Ah.
Oh, Dahlia last year? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was trash.
That's what we're looking at. We're looking at something that's forming from a decaying frontal boundary. Complete trash. Won't be stronger than 40 knots, even if it does form.
Let's see here. More questions. How far inland will surge reach in Gulfport, Mississippi?
I